All pilgrims walking along the Camino Primitivo have one place in mind, and this is it, the start of the Hospitales route. Before arriving here, pilgrims may wonder whether to spend the night in Borres, Campiello, Semblismo. We will have also had to check out the weather forecast, because if there's fog or bad weather, we will always go via Pola. Join us on this video to discover the Hospitales route, an ancient Camino de Santiago. We're beginning the Hospitales route, probably the most emblematic section of the whole Camino de Santiago Primitivo. The landscapes are solitude and remarkable, as is the connection with history, as there were up to 4 pilgrims' hospitals on this section. We can still see the ruins today. It is usually a route done on foot, although there are sometimes seasoned cycling pilgrims having a go at it too. The path is the natural way between Borres and Puerto de Palo, without having to descend to Pola to then ascend once again to Puerto. The route itself is not that difficult. If we go in spring, we might encounter a short section at the start that is blocked due to weeds, but most of the trajectory runs along paths that present few difficulties. The hardest thing will be the ascents that will take us from 600 metres at Borres to 1200 metres at the summit. The lack of services is also tricky. It's not just the 14 kilometres of the route, but also the kilometre and a half before from Borres and the 9 after Burdecido. We will go a maximum of 24 kilometres without services, meaning we have to go well prepared. Be sure to take care with the sun, as there is hardly any shade along the whole way. The first thing we'll find on the Hospitales route is the upper part of the town of La Matera. We will go past the chapel of San Pasqual and, once we leave it behind, we will begin a sharp ascent that will take us up to the ruins of the first of the hospitals, Paradiella. There are hardly any remains of this ancient place that once welcomed pilgrims. The ruins are found to our left. What we will see is plenty of roaming livestock, mainly horses and cows. Relax, they're not dangerous. While we walk, they graze. From here, the hardest part will start, a complicated ascent that will take us to the summit of the route with the best views. And after this steep slope, be aware of the loose rocks. We go up to the top and we reach the ruins of the second hospital, Fonfarol. These ruins are much more visible, as it was welcoming pilgrims until just a century ago. The stones were reused to put together a couple of huts for the livestock. There are records of this place going back to the 13th century, and there was also a small town. In fact, various prehistoric elements have been found in the area that suggest there was a town up here for thousands of years. It's staggering to think that this inhospitable place was populated until the beginning of the 20th century. We will continue along the route, cruising along the Sierra with the very best views. To the west, to our right, we will see the river basin of the Navia, and to the east, to our left, that is of course Narcia. And here we'll reach the ruins of the Hospital Valparaiso. They are very close to each other. For there to have been hospitals so close to one another suggests that it must have been very difficult to pass through this area. Valparaiso, also known as the Upper Hospital, was open until the first half of the 19th century. There are still ruins here today that give us some insight into its past. The path leads us to a gentle descent until we cross the road over La Mata. Here we'll come across a few ponds. Although they might look natural, many of them were dug in Roman times to collect and channel water to the gold mines that we are about to see. From here, we continue ascending. I recommend that you consult our application's map so you can go to La Fana de Freta. It's just a few meters away, but you'll find some spectacular mountain precipices at your feet. They are not natural in origin. Rather, they are the result of ancient Roman mines where gold was extracted. Broadly speaking, they pierced the mountain and, thanks to the pressure of the water that they brought here, they were able to cause the mountain to collapse to then find gold. In fact, the name of the next town, Monteferrado, means drilled mountain. We're coming to the end. In our final descent, we'll leave the Hospital de la Freita to our right. Today there are just a few bushes, as it was the first to disappear. Finally, we'll rejoin the Camino de Santiago variation that goes via Pola in Puerto de Palo, where we'll begin our descent to Monteferrado, Lego and Burdecido. We finally reached the end of the Hospitales route, reaching the top of Puerta de Palo. If the weather is good, we'll have spectacular views of the next 2 days' route. And if we weren't able to come to the Hospitales route, it doesn't matter. Going down to Pola de Allande is also a very good option. Furthermore, we'll be able to sample the excellent menu at La Nueva Allandesa. Remember that you have all the information you need about distances and accommodation on the Buen Camino de Santiago app. There are still a few kilometers with no services to go. Buen Camino!